Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to another episode of Murata Media. Finally, I'm able to make a review. It has been so long since my last review, and I'm so happy that I was finally able to make it to the movies this past weekend to make a new one. And this movie that I saw that I will be talking about in this review is The Invisible Man. Now, The Invisible Man is a reimagining of the classic Orson Welles novel that was eventually made into a movie in 1933. And in that original story, it was about a scientist who made himself invisible and eventually went mad when he wasn't able to reverse its effects. Originally, this movie was supposed to be part of Universal's Dark Universe, which was basically the MCU, but it took a bunch of classic monster movies and put them all into one franchise. The first movie that was supposed to get this universe started was The Mummy, which came out a few years ago. But that movie was panned by everybody, and it didn't do as well as it would have hoped at the box office. So it seems Universal scrapped that idea and decided to just make standalones, and this was supposed to be the next chapter of it. And The Invisible Man tells the story of a young woman named Cecilia who runs away from her abusive boyfriend, Adrian Griffin. And after Cecilia leaves Adrian, she soon feels like someone is watching her and following her, and she eventually comes to the conclusion that Adrian has made himself invisible. And right off the bat, I just need to say this movie is extremely well directed. You can tell that director Lee Whannell really gets his kicks out of just screwing with the audience's minds. And he does this through the camera movements. Like, there will be a moment when the camera is still for a second following Cecilia, and then it'll slowly pan away from her as if it was tracking with someone. But the thing is, there's nobody there, and you question if somebody really is there or if it's just a mind trick. And there are other times where the camera will just stay still on one object, implying that someone is there, but you never really know. It's genuinely very creepy and unsettling, and this movie's score only heightens that feeling of uncertainty. It starts off pretty slow at the beginning and in the middle, but it's not so slow to the point where I found myself checking my watch. But the third act of this movie was absolutely insane, and it kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. But what I respect most about The Invisible Man is how it was able to take the concept of one of the most classic monster movies of all time and turn it into this modern commentary on the trauma felt by the victim of domestic violence. I mean, throughout this whole movie, Cecilia is just trying to convince people that she is not crazy and someone is actually there. And you start to sympathize with Cecilia because you know that she's not insane, and just because these people can't see what she's seeing doesn't mean that it isn't there. The Invisible Man almost serves as a character study of a person who is so mentally unstable and not willing to let go of a relationship that they are willing to go so far to the point of making themselves invisible just to get close to them. I truly believe that the parallels and the symbolism are genius when you actually sit back and think about them. However, this movie isn't perfect. It does contain quite a few distracting plot holes. Specifically, there's this scene that takes place in a restaurant, and throughout the entire movie there's quite an emphasis that's put on cameras and surveillance. And to put it simple without getting into spoilers, if this restaurant had operating cameras, then everything would have been solved. But I did see this with one of my best friends, and she studies law and forensics and investigation and stuff like that. And she told me that all the witnesses that are around, then authorities wouldn't have felt the need to check the cameras. And I can somewhat agree with that, but you wouldn't be at least a little bit compelled to look at the cameras? There's another scene that involves a cell phone, and this phone is left in a certain place, and you never find out if it was left there or if someone had picked it up, because if someone had found it, then that also would have cracked the case. And while I can forgive those plot holes because I found this movie very entertaining, they can be quite glaring. But in the end, The Invisible Man truly was a great movie. This is a prime example of how a reboot or a reimagining should be done. You don't just recycle the exact same movie and call it a reboot. No, you take the original concept and you make something new out of it. And honestly, I was feeling a very high 7 on this movie, but the heightened tension, which led to an incredibly satisfying third act, only bumped it up a score. And for that reason, I am going to give The Invisible Man an 8 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of The Invisible Man. If you guys saw it, let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Comment down below. I would love to know. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you aren't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button too. I'm going to start posting more reviews more frequently. If you want to see my past reviews, I'll link those right over here. And other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, like always, and I will see you all next time.